Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael. Last month was one of the snowiest Januaries on record in Vermont, and today we're going to look back at the man who was the first ever to photograph snowflakes. Rebecca Gollin tells us about Wilson Snowflake Bentley of Jericho.
Vermonters are known for being inventive, and one of the people who helped establish that reputation did a lot of his innovative work right here on Nashville Road in Jericho.
Oh my gosh, who was Wilson? He was a farmer, a dreamer, a self-taught photographer and scientist and weather expert and a musician and so many different people all rolled into one.
Sue Richardson is talking about her great-great-uncle, Wilson Bentley.
My grandmother, Amy Bentley Hunt, was one of Snowflake Bentley's 8 nieces and nephews. She grew up on the farm with him there in Jericho. She was actually his favorite by all accounts. And I grew up on her and my grandfather's farm here in Jericho, hearing the stories about Uncle Willie.
Bentley was fascinated by the natural world, and when he was 15, his mother, who had been a school teacher, gave him a microscope. This opened up a whole new world to Bentley. He looked at leaves, blades of grass, insects, and when winter came, snowflakes. That started a fascination that led to a lifetime of work, and the lifelong nickname, Snowflake.
Once he saw just the delicate beauty, it captured his attention. It just captivated him. He spent 2 years trying to draw the snowflakes, the designs that he saw, holding his breath so they wouldn't melt, and then got this idea somewhere from a magazine or something. He saw an article about this camera with a microscope attached and thought, if I had that, I could photograph the snowflakes, not just try to draw them, and preserve the beauty for all time. So after much discussion and persuasion, he convinced his parents, primarily his mother, to purchase this camera for him for his 17th birthday. And that was the beginning.
Bentley spent the next 2 years figuring out how to capture the image of a snow crystal through the microscope. The process involved a number of challenges that called for creative solutions, including rigging up a pulley system when he couldn't reach the front of the camera to focus.
He had to work in the cold because otherwise the snow crystals would melt so quickly. He worked in an unheated woodshed. He wore heavy mittens so that his warmth from his hands wouldn't warm the microscope slide and cause the snowflake to melt too quickly. And basically had to hold his breath when he was transferring the snowflake from the wooden tray to the microscope slide so that the vapor wouldn't melt the snowflake too quickly. And then it was a question of figuring out how to focus and how to process this correctly. So it was a truly learning curve. He was a true pioneer in photomicrography.
Along with the intricate process he came up with for photographing the crystals, Bentley also kept very detailed records of the weather and conditions during each storm.
He was able to start figuring out science-wise what might be happening to snow crystals.
Mark Breen is a meteorologist at the Fairbanks Museum in St. Johnsbury. A number of the tools and language Bentley developed to describe what he saw are still used in the scientific community today. And many of his theories about why different storms produce different shaped flakes have been proven true.
And this is before we really thought about storms the way that we see them today. And so he's really looking at not what was happening in Chicago or Detroit or something like that. He was focused on what was happening in Nashville in his backyard. But he kept very careful records of the temperatures, like I said, wind direction. And over time, he started tying that with the types of crystals. So I can remember one of the notes that I saw where he had a collection of snow crystals and he called them local crystals. And he felt that they were produced in a cloud that was basically happening over that western range of the Green Mountains. And indeed, that turns out to be the case.
While photographing snowflakes was a passion for Bentley, he never made a living at it. He owned a farm in Jericho with his brother and fit his photography around his farm chores, taking thousands of images and also making copies of his slides for schools and institutions.
He never made any money. In fact, he spent more money than he ever made. He sold copies of his slides to schools, universities, to Tiffany's jewelers for jewelry design, and he charged 5 cents a plate, which covered his cost. He was still charging 5 cents a plate in 1931 when he passed. He never raised his price. He probably, we figured it out one time, he probably made about $7,500 over all those years, and he spent about $15,000. So it definitely wasn't a career, it was a passion.
Bentley photographed a wide variety of subjects in the natural world and chronicled his family, but his lifelong dedication to capturing snowflakes never faded. In the end, it's even what did him in.
He was coming back from Burlington, came up to Richmond on the train, and it had been a winter very much devoid of snow, warmer than normal. He hadn't photographed a single snowflake because there just hadn't been any snow. So this day, as he was coming back, it started to snow. His friends wanted him to stay in Richmond and not walk back to Nashville because of the storm, but he insisted on getting home because it was snowing. And he was ready to take some photographs because, as I said, he hadn't taken any that year. He caught a chill, a cold. It turned into pneumonia, and he passed away on the 23rd of December, 1931.
Today, visitors from all over come to the Jericho Historical Society to see their Snowflake Bentley exhibit. And copies of his prints are on display in museums from Shelburne to the Smithsonian.
He photographed snowflakes in Canada and upstate New York in different areas. They were never as good or as intricate as the ones he photographed right there at home in Jericho.
He left a legacy that reaches from the small town of Jericho, Vermont, around the globe. Snowflake Bentley showed the world how to take a closer look at the little things. In Jericho, I'm Rebecca Gullen with Across the Fence.
For more information on the work and legacy of Snowflake Bentley, we encourage you to visit the Jericho Historical Society. Our next segment this afternoon focuses on careers in agriculture. Every year, the UVM Extension 4-H program hosts a career day.
I came here to just learn my options for careers later in life. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but just to keep doors open.
I don't know if I really want to be a full-time dairy farmer, but that's why I came here to figure out other options besides just working full-time on a dairy farm.
Today, I just really wanted to learn more about where I can go with it, whether or not really going into horses as a trainer or something would be as involving as going into something like food and water services and all those sort of things. It was really just so I could learn more about the industry itself, how diverse it is.
These high school students are interested in careers in the agriculture industry. They came to hear from the experts.
Today here at the Davis Center at the University of Vermont, we are having our Agricultural Career Day, where we have professionals coming in and giving a 5-minute presentation about who they are, what they do, the value of the education that they had, and advice that they would give to students and 4-H members that came today.
Speakers included professionals from feed companies, equine and dairy farm management, agronomy, and food manufacturing, among others. Everyone offered some good tips.
And I get to put my kind of horse background to use talking to clients every day and help keep the office running smoothly.
The Shelburne Farms part about learning hands-on experiences and how really the industry is about teaching while doing, it really stood out to me because that's how I've learned a lot of my knowledge, and it's really helped me. So I would definitely consider going into something where I can teach others.
UVM Extension Director Chuck Ross was on hand to share his own experiences in the ag world. He hopes that this day is just a start for these students as they think about their options.
One of the things I heard today that I thought made a lot of sense is to take some business classes, because business understanding and competence is something you'll use in your personal life, and if you're going to be a part of a profession, every profession is its own business.
UVM Extension 4-H was a sponsor of the event, but it was open to all high school and college students from around the state.
What we're trying to do is broaden their horizons to know, yes, you may show a dairy cow, but part of that is the feed companies and the other businesses and what they do and who they are. Maybe in 5 years they won't have a dairy cow, but they can still be involved in agriculture, and this type of opportunity gives them that exposure to find out what else is out there.
And as these students found out, there's a lot out there.
I'm interested in finding internships and just figuring out, it was really to find more options besides just dairy farming, and I saw a couple of things, but I'm looking for more.
There's so many options for what you can do with agriculture. Like you can be in a lab, or you could be like on the field working with animals.
There's a lot of equine opportunities here that definitely be looking into.
We have a growing population that needs to be fed, and the manner in which we produce our food to feed those people can actually change the world in which you are going to be inheriting from people like me.
It's a chance for the next generation of Vermonters to think about the future and get the advice they need to start planning for it. In Burlington, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
The hands-on learning should be in partnership with...
Thank you, Rebecca. This Friday, February 8th, is the 2019 Career Day. You can search online for the detailed information. That is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit Across the Fence.